This lesson covers one-step equations, solving them by adding and subtracting. The goal is to solve these equations involving addition and subtraction. So, some vocabulary. Inverse operations. These are operations that undo other operations. They're the opposites. We've talked about this before this year. We're going to get it on paper now. So the inverse operation of addition is subtraction. And the opposite, or inverse of subtraction, is addition. We will use these inverses to find missing parts of equations. Subtraction property of equality states that subtracting the same number from each side of an equation produces an equal or equivalent equation. And same property applies for addition, but now adding the same number to each side of an equation produces an equivalent equation. Okay, we're going to use these properties in the next few slides. Let's go ahead and solve this problem. 8 plus x equals negative 4. Now, some of you can probably do this mentally, but we're really going to focus on the process and the structure here, because we're going to need these as we move into two-step equations in a few lessons, then multi-step and even bigger ones when you get into next year in algebra. So really get this foundation down now. We have an addition problem. 8 plus x equals negative 4. The opposite of addition is subtraction. We're going to subtract 8 from each side. Now the point of this, we're trying to get x totally by itself. And 8 minus 8 equals 0. So that's gone. Now we do negative 4 minus 8 to give us negative 12. I expect knowledge of negative numbers by now. And what's nice with equations, we can check them pretty easily. We're saying that x equals negative 12. We go ahead and check it by plugging the negative 12 back in for x. So 8 plus negative 12, we're saying is negative 4. 8 plus negative 12 is negative 4. The two sides are equal. It checks out. Over here, x plus negative 8 equals negative 4. This one's a little bit different now. Again, we're trying to work it out, so we're left with x equals something. We want to get rid of this negative 8. Even though we have an addition, a plus problem here, we look at the sign right before the 8, which is negative. So we're actually going to add 8 to both sides. Because negative 8 plus 8 goes away, equals 0. And negative 4 plus 8 equals 4. So x equals 4. Now, if we were to check out both sides, plug in that 4 for x, 4 plus negative 8, does that equal negative 4? Sure does, it checks out. Equation is correct. Now over here we have negative 17 plus x equals 21, excuse me, not negative. So, we're again trying to get down to x equals. We're going to get rid of negative 17, we're going to add 17 to both sides. That goes away, and we have 38 on the right side. We plug it in. Negative 17 plus 38 indeed equals 21. So it checks out. Again, if you do these problems mentally, that's great. Work on the process. You will need it within a couple lessons, I promise you. Subtraction. Okay, we undo subtraction by adding. So x minus 8 equals 2. We want to have x equals something. Get rid of minus 8. We add 8 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 8 equals 6. Check step. 6 minus 8 by plugging the 6 in for x equals negative 2. That does work out. We are good. A little bit different here. 9 minus x equals 13. We're again trying to work down to where x equals something. We'll subtract 9 from both sides. This gives us, well, that's gone. We have this negative x still. So negative x equals 4. Well, we're doing the opposite here. So since we're taking the negative sign off of the x, right, that goes away. We got to change the sign of the 4 to make it negative 4. And if we plug in to see what happens, we know that minus a negative equals a positive. 9 plus 4 is 13. It checks out. Again, know your signs, don't eliminate them. And finally, x minus negative 11 equals 2. I would go right ahead and rewrite that. Minus negative equals plus positive. So now it's an addition problem, so we know we're going to subtract. Get x by itself by subtracting 11 from both sides. X equals negative 9. Check step. Negative 9 plus 11 equals 2. It sure does. We are good. Let's involve some things from last unit. Combining like terms. 2 plus x minus 9 equals 5. Well, on the left side, we combine like terms. So we've got our 2, we have our negative 9. Combine that to make negative 7. Negative 7 plus x equals 5. We want to have x equal something. So get that by itself by adding 7 to this side, add 7 to this side. X equals 12. And we can plug that back in. The original problem, 2 plus 12 minus 9 equals 5. 2 plus 12 is 14. Minus 9 equals 5, and it sure does check out. We are good. Over here now, 3 minus x minus 9 equals negative 15. Combine our like terms. 3 and negative 9 gives us negative 6. Okay, we're going to get rid of that. Constant, we want to be left with x down here, so we're going to add 6 to both sides. That's gone. Negative x equals negative 9. So the negative x becomes positive x. Flip to the opposite. Negative 9 is positive 9. And we're going to trust that's correct and move on to a couple of on your own problems. So go ahead and pause the video here and try these on your own. We want to get x equals something over here. Get that by itself by adding 13 to both sides. X equals negative 26. Over here, we want to get x by itself. Subtract 22 from both sides. We have negative x equals negative 61. Flip to the opposite. Finally, combine like terms. Combine our negative 7 with positive 11 to give us 4. Subtract 4 from both sides to give us x equals 10. This concludes your lesson over one-step equations involving adding and subtracting.